So that's my Instagram logo, and I'd like to save it, which you can do File, Save, or you can use the keyboard shortcut Command S or Control S on a PC, which is one of my favorites. So Command S, save, good to go. Moving on to the next one, okay? The next one is using a bunch of different tools, and it will create this like diamond-shaped, like surrounded by two little circle pieces on top of a rectangle, okay? So first thing we're going to do is create this diamond, and I'm going to start with the rectangle tool in its default mode to start creating that shape, okay? So as before, if I hold shift, I will get a perfectly square object, right? Whereas if I don't hold shift, I'll get kind of a random shape. So I'm going to start with a perfect square, and then I'm going to reshape it into this diamond, okay? So I've drawn my square. My next step, let me just move this up by clicking the center mouse button on my mouse and dragging to get my hand tool real quick. So let's now pick up the rotate tool. She's a fun one. So the rotate tool works like this, right? You have to have an object selected. Step one, right? Have an object selected. If you haven't selected something when you pick it up, then you can use the command key to select those objects. So if you hold down command and click on something, it'll let you select that thing to rotate it. Then next step, right, is going to be to click in the center of the thing or along one of the lines, right? Click someplace where you know where it is, okay? So let's say I click here. Now I'm looking to create a handle. So my first click is going to be the axis on which this thing rotates. My second click is the handle, right? Do you see how that's working? This is something you'll have to play with because it's totally weird, okay? But if I have it on my cursor like this, right, I can now spin it around and rotate it around, right? I actually don't love this handle because I'm not able to snap it to perfectly vertical, and that's what I'd like to do. So, I mean, 45 degrees would do it if I were to just type 45 in like that, then I know I'm exactly vertical. But instead, I'm actually going to do it another way. And the way that I get to make a new rectangle rotation situation without actually starting over is I hit escape, and that will release the thing. So when I hit escape, it releases the object that I have selected. Now I can use the center as my rotation point, grab the bottom right, and it will give me a vertical snapping point. You see how it has that dashed line, that guide? So now I know I'm perfectly vertical. Next step, hit my X key, right? Otherwise I'll just keep rotating stuff. And now you'll see there are all these handles, right? When I click on the object, I now have handles to make it bigger and smaller, right? And to change its shape. So with my thing selected, I want the reshape tool, okay? And you can get it by coming over here or by hitting the dash key, I guess. But the way that I usually get the reshape tool is actually just double clicking on the object, right? When I double click on the object, this becomes highlighted, these options appear. And at this point, when I hover over one of the boxes, I get this reshape tool button, okay? Which is like a little square with a bunch of arrows coming out of it. What that allows me to do is click and drag to change the shape, right? So I can click and drag and make this shape a diamond instead of a rectangle, right? I can even change it this way, right? It's not perfectly symmetrical anymore, right? But that's okay for the purposes of this particular assignment, right? And we'll talk more about how to get more precision out of your tools as we go. If you want to make sure that you are vertical, right? That you're not dragging things out left and right, you can hold down shift and it'll snap to the vertical axis or this horizontal axis. So that is a good way also to kind of keep yourself in check. So you're not just like making weird rhombuses. Okay, great. So now I have my diamond shape, okay? And that will be in the middle of my thing, right? So I went back here and grabbed this so I can also hit the X key so that I could pick it up and move it a little bit, okay? here we go. Okay, so now I have this diamond shape. What's my next step? I'm going to use the circle tool. I'm going to clip surface around this diamond and kind of explode it out, right? So I'm going to start with the circle tool. I can, because this is a complete shape, use the center point of this diamond as the center point of my circle. So they are perfectly aligned, right? And then I'm going to just drag it out until it looks kind of the way I want it to. Now, problem, right? I can't see the diamond anymore. That's not great. Because I actually want to cut this diamond out of this circle, right? In order to create those two little parentheses shapes. So what I'll do is send it to the back so that it's behind these existing objects. That's in your modify menu. So if you go here, you can go to send, right? These are going to be the same keyboard shortcuts across a bunch of different softwares. So these are good ones to learn. And send to back is Command B on the Mac, and it'll be Control B on the PC. And you can learn Shift, and then Shift Command B is going to just send it one step back instead of all the way to the back. But we're going to just use send to back, right? So that it's all the way behind the shape that was in front of it, okay? Now, once that has happened, right? X key to get back out of my circle so I'm not just drawing more circles. Shift, select both objects, and again, we'll use clip surface. So modify, clip surface. Now I have 3 separate shapes, okay? I'm going to just move these little parentheses away to give a little bit of space. And I can do that by just dragging, and I'm just gonna kind of drag it until it snaps one notch over. So I don't know if you noticed that, but it basically snapped to the next point, right? As I was going across. And it kind of moves them similar distances apart, okay? You can also use align distribute if you want to make sure that they're perfectly symmetrical and that those two are exactly the same distance from their original position. Okay, next step. Let's put this rectangle that they're sitting on top of behind it, and then we'll mess with the color, right? Because if you remember on my original version, things are all different colors, okay? So let's draw our background rectangle, and this is just kind of a la 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 rectangle, right? Just kind of doing whatever. And then Command B to send it behind everybody else. Okay, great. So now let's play with color. And actually this rectangle, you can see it's not really centered, so I can center it by picking it up from its center point. So you see I moved it away because it was like not letting me snap easily. But you'll notice when I hover over things, they get little red rectangles around them sometimes. That's using that as a snapping point. So if I pick this up with the crosshairs, right? So you'll see there are 2 ways things that the cursor shows up as it gets to a handle. One is this double arrow thing that lets you reshape. That's not what I want to do. I want to use the crosshairs, which lets you move. And I can actually pick this up from the center and then snap it to the center of the diamond. So I now know those 2 center points are aligned. So now it's snapped together at the center. Great. Let's change colors, okay? So in my original one, you can do whatever you want with these colors. In my original one, I have this background is like a gray, and I didn't want to have bold lines on it. I want it to just be a plain gray rectangle. So I do want you to do that for me. So the first thing you'll do is turn off the pen, which gives you the line. So you'll just say, no, no pen, thank you. And then you can come over here and change the fill color, okay? These are defaults that it's just given you, right? But you can also come in and pick any random color you want, right? Or you can use some of these various color picking tools, okay, in order to choose a color for your rectangle. I'm gonna just do a gray to kind of stay in the same family, and then I click OK, and now it's gray, okay? These two, I'm gonna do them at the same time because I want them to match. I'm gonna select them, and I'm actually gonna give them a heavier pen. So instead of the line thickness being 0.05, I'm going to just kind of bump it up to something like 0.50, right? So now it's a heavier line than this one was. And I wanted those to be blue. So I'm going to change their solid fill color to blue. And then my last one is the center diamond, same game, right? I want it to be at least 0.50, and maybe I'll go back and make that heavier later. We'll see how I feel. And then I wanted a yellow. I don't see one, so I can either switch into all of these color palettes, right? And these are like, right now it's in Roscoe colors, so these are actually gel colors. But you can also use Pantone colors. You can use all kinds of paint brand colors, right? So if you're wanting to match something that's specific, you can do that as well. And then everything in between, right? So I'm going to just choose like, let's just choose this, and we're going to do it as a color grid so it's easy to scroll through, and I'm going to pick a yellow that I like, right? And this will be a color that I could go buy at the Home Depot if I wanted to. I don't like that yellow, actually. I want it to be brighter. So I'm going to do this in the color picker instead. I want like a bright yellow. Great. Now that I've used those colors, they are active in the document, so we do have access to them in the little boxes if I wanted to use them again later. Okay, so that's logo 2. Onward.